Peace, family. This is Shofar from Faux Show Energy Work.
And this is Kirti from Dilse Culture.
And we're here to talk to you today about how breathwork can end racism. First off, we want to take a moment to be in this moment. And we're in June 2020. As we know, there's a lot of things going on out here in society and going on within us. And those reflect each other. So let's take a moment to be in this moment, breathing in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more. It all starts and ends with the breath, and so we appreciate that. And so we come here today to speak to you divine beings about who you are and the remembrance and the awareness of who we are, and knowing that the things that go on in society are also a reflection of what's going on in our inner world. And so we speak from that place, looking to bring more awareness into things.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think that breathwork is the first and last thing with our existence on this planet. And from breathwork, we can access the divine natural code, the divine natural awareness that you talk about, Shofar, that's going to allow us to unlock the tension that's happening around us right now.
I say. And so what we look to do is with breathwork, and we like to call it SEX, Sensual Emotional Exchange, sex. The sex being the sensual, the S being the central, the E being the emotional component, and then the X being the X factor, the consciousness or the awareness, and how we bring the masculine energy. And when we talk about masculine and feminine energies in this video, we're talking just about energies. We're not talking about genitalia.
Right.
And we have both of those energies in us. Just like our lungs expand and they inhale and exhale, or our heart beats, we have both energies always in us. We cannot escape that. When in traditional Chinese medicine, they say when yin and yang separate, that is called death. And really, you just go to another different level of existence, but that's a whole nother thing. When they separate here in the physical, then that we no longer we expire, And so with this, what we're going to do is give some practical exercises that can help with our consciousness and help to expand our awareness, or as we like to call our awareness system, through our breath. And we're going to do that with the acronym that we want you to remember is R.A.C.I.S.M, R-A-C-E. Right now, with all the things that have been going on, Amy Cooper, and before that Ahmaud Arbery, and then the brother George Floyd, there's a lot of emphasis right now on race, and rightfully so. And with that being said, we also want to address some other isms that are just holding us up and keeping us from evolution. So RACE, R-A-C-E, is revolutionary awareness creates evolution. Or radical awareness creates evolution. And so the Qigong is Chinese for breath work or breath discipline, and is being disciplined to bring our awareness into the moment.
Beautiful. I love it. Keep going.
Keep going. All right, so, and with that, we're going to go through the organ systems. So the reason why we're going to look at the organs is in traditional Chinese medicine, we are taught that each one of our organs has a propensity to hold certain emotions. And just like if we put ourselves on something hot, like Kirti is hot. Did y'all get that? Kirti is hot. If you put your hand on something hot and then you jerk it away real quick, that is the response to save us, really, to let us know that touching something that may be damaging to us. Well, we're taught also that on an emotional level, quote unquote negative emotions, when we feel those, it's also our way of knowing that something is not in alignment in our being, and it's drawing our attention, like, hey man, you're burning yourself, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, and we don't like to call them negative emotions. We actually call them soil emotions, because we need compost, we need We need the shit. We need the fertilizer, the manure to actually grow stuff.
I was thinking about that text that just came down. Yes, the soil emotions is where we want to go actually into the depths of the shadow and accept that as something natural that happens. And from the depths of the shadow, from those emotions, they actually have high quality nutrients that when they're composted, they allow for what we might call positive emotions, but really the natural growth that occurs from the compost, from the stuff that we eat, and we think that's not useful anymore. We put it back into the ground, but the truth is that all parts of everything that we eat are truly useful.
Shay. Okay, so with that, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 5 major yin organs, and we're going to relate that though both as an individual, because when we say that, and let's be very clear, y'all, in this time we got to get clear that these systems are failing us as human beings. Notice I didn't say human or humanity, because we got to stop putting the masculine over the feminine and bring things back into balance. So I just say human beings. You find with words and technology, but it's time for us to start decoding our language, because we're casting spells that are keeping us locked down, even with just our words coming out of our mouth. And so as human beings, being very fucking clear that the systems are not working. And they're not working because we're not working. We're not evolving. And so we're not coming up with evolved systems that serve all of us. And so with that, the Qigong that we're going to do, the breath discipline, the breath work that we're going to do is going to take us through the organs and through racism. And that is a acronym as well. The A in it, we starting with the A of it, even though it's the second letter, but the A is for awareness. And that's like R.A., Ra, the sun god, awareness. And we shine our awareness on the rest of the other letters. So the awareness comes up. And the first letter is for racism. The next word is for classism. The next one is for intellectualism. The next one is for sexism. And the next one is for materialism. And we're going to go through our organ systems, through our organs, to bring those things in balance, because realizing that we have each one of these sins, if you will, in us. And I don't call it S-I-N, like some moral, like some big God up in the sky judging us or whatever. For me, it's S-Y-N, short for synergy. These are sins or things that bring us out of a state of synergy with nature.
Right. The divine law and the divine code, the original code.
The original code.
Yeah, all the codes, even the systems that we find that are oppressing us, they're still functioning off the same code, but it's a different type of manipulation. So when we want to come back to another natural, we want to come back to the natural code of our own inner being, we want to go back to nature and see how nature was doing it.
Shay. And so with this, the first element that we're going to move to is the fire element, and that is represented in us as the heart. Just as the sun is said to pulsate and is sending energy at such a quick rate, and that's what we experience as light and as heat. So that is what our heart is doing. This is our sun in us. This is our fire element. And so with that, the negative or the soil emotion of the heart is is conditional love. Conditioned love. And so it's love in which we have conditions on. And it goes into pleasure as well. It's those things it's those conditions that we put on our being that stops our full expression. And that we put a condition on, if you're from this religion or you got this credit score, it's conditions. And as long as we keep coming from that place and not a place of agape, unconditional love. Agape is Greek for unconditional love. Love that is not conditioned. And so
well, and also that you can't control the way anything around you or anybody else can exist. Unconditional love is you accept all around you as it is.
Shay. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, in Qigong, what we find is that there's a sound and a movement that usually will help to help the energy to move through a certain place. So if, again, going back to what we said at the beginning of the video, if I'm feeling a negative emotion of just having conditioned love or being obsessive about something and trying to being over attached to something, that is all letting us know that maybe our heart is, you know, sometimes we might be in a relationship or something, but and be overextended. This all has to do with the heart energy. And so there's a sound and a movement that will help bring the energy in that area of the body back into harmony. So with that, the sound for the heart is ha, H-A, like you're laughing, ha. And we're going to do the heart now. And Kirti, I'll let you stand a little bit in front here. I'll be back here for this one. And we're going to bring up the energy, kind of scoop up. And you can't see, but it's like I'll bring my arms up like this. It's like I'm down here near my genitals, but you scoop up from the earth, breathing in, and then looking at where do we have racism in us? Racism as the oppressor or the oppressed. Either way, we're still playing into something that's not serving us anymore. If we're being the oppressor, looking at what ways do we uphold you know, standards that keep other people at a subservient or less than role. And if we're being the victim or we're being the oppressed, how we're not coming up with systems to stop that. How we're not coming up with practical actions to stop that.
And I'm feeling like washing over all of the structures that feel rigid and strict and rote and that feel like there is no capacity to change. With my exhale, I'm just washing over that with unconditional love, allowing all things to exist differently, diversely, just like in nature. Feeling the sun's beam on all things equally.
Exactly. Very good point, Kirti. The sun shines on all of us. So the reason why we have racism is because we brought into this idea of race. And how's that working out for us? Or can we let that go? And let's do the inner work on ourselves to see where we're upholding these ideas that don't serve us any longer as human beings. The sun shines on us all. The sun shines on the lily and the rose. It shines on the dog and the cat. It shines on the black and the white. And everything else. And a couple more just from a place of silence, doing the sound again, ha. One more. Cool. Let me take one moment to be silent as we feel the energy now moving more through our heart and chest area. Taking a moment to feel that. Amen. So then the next element that we move to is the lungs. In traditional Chinese medicine, they say that that element is metal in the system that I, have created myself, or that has flowed through me, or whatever, that I like to explain it, just so people can get a different over and inner and understanding, is I like to call it the air element. That fits more for me. And you as the master, you get to, you can change this up and tailor it to yourself. Always know that. And so with that, the lung being the air element, and the soil emotion or negative emotion, the soil emotion of the lungs is grief and sadness and depression. And as we're moving through the word racism, through the acronym, We have R for racism, again, awareness, and then the C is classism. In traditional Chinese medicine, we're told that the lung energy gives us a thing. First off, it rules the skin. The lungs rule the skin. This is also how we breathe, people, is our skin. We also breathe not just through our lungs, but through our skin. And this is a big place of detoxifying ourselves. Right now, we're in the midst of the virus, supposedly. I always have to put the supposedly, but we have this thing going on right now, collectively, whatever is going on, we can all agree something is going on. It's very important to have healthy boundaries that work for us. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they tell us that there's a thing called Wei Qi, and that is our aura, basically, that allows only the good things to come in and keeps the other things at bay. And so setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah, and the boundaries piece is huge because we're talking about air. So air fuels, but then it's in connection with fire. And when you mix air and fire together, you can really blaze a trail. So understanding where and how you project your breath and how you speak and how you exist is exactly also you blazing that trail of what you stand for and who you are. So I like the idea of integrating the heart and the lungs in this place of open expansion and full acceptance of who I am. And from me doing that, that is, you are also come as you are. And then the fire is also from this awareness, we can both coexist. And not one person needs to actually fully change for the other.
Amen. And I love what you said on our IG Live just now about classism is, you know, the poor person and the rich person, you know, and the poor people looking down on the rich people. Look how they waste their money, you know, how they could help people or this or that. And the rich person looking down on the poor person. And we're not meeting anywhere in the middle. And truth be told, and I have another video talking about the economic warfare that's going on, you know, whether we recognize it or not, the middle class all around the world is going down, 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 you know? And so...
Right, and the piece is like to be really, when we're looking at other people with our, you know, when we're deciding where our fire and our air wants to be for ourselves, and we find ourselves looking at others and we're judging how they're spending their money or what class they're in, most of the time what that's reflecting, what we're seeing in us, the soil emotion that's coming up is actually to take us to the soul existence of how do we truly want to be. Perhaps we do want to be financially abundant, and that's where we feel like our purpose will really thrive. Or perhaps if you're looking at people with no money and we're making an assumption that they're lazy, what the soil emotion is exposing is our soul's desire to maybe like not work so hard and maybe be able to chill and still make money. Right, so regardless of whatever our judgment is, it's always a reflection of what's wanting to be created inside of ourselves.
I love it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so with that, we bring our awareness to classism, and then also to the soil emotions of depression, sadness, and we look to clear those things up in us, classism, and then the grief and sadness that's in us. And then as we do any of these practices with our awareness, then we are doing this for the collective. Always know that.
I've noticed too, it's interesting now since doing this many times, I noticed that my inhale when I'm taking in, I actually really get into the soil emotion on the inhale. And I see and I feel what I'm taking in right now. I feel what my skin is absorbing. I feel what my emotional field is taking in, and I feel that completely, and I get heavy with that. And then on my exhale, I experience and explore a washing over of what the soul emotion wants to create. So it's like the inhale is the soil and the exhale is the soul emotion, where I really literally visualize a washing over of everything that I'm taking in, and I want to see it almost change a color or change its form in some way.
Amen. I love that. And I love in that changing, know people that, you know, because a lot of us, we're like, we don't know what actions to take, or, you know, in this moment with so much going on, it's like, what actions do I take and everything? That with that process that you just explained, you have the wisdom in you. but coming from an inspired action. Don't let, that's again setting a healthy boundary. Oh, you should put a black check, or you should go do a riot. If that's alive and you do it, but if not, that's not in alignment. Good things are not going to come from not being in alignment, you know, and being able to set healthy boundaries, you know, and coming from a place of inspired action.
Right.
So being able to do the inner work and then move from that place, and then you'll know exactly, you have the wisdom in you. You'll know exactly what to do. You'll meet the right people. You'll be in the right place. So with that, the sound is shh. Like, in other words, telling all that bullshit to be quiet. The sound is shh. And that is how we're going to process the classism and the grief and the sadness and bring it up to the positive emotion of the lungs, or the soul emotion of the lungs, which is self-respect and awareness and worthiness.
Purpose.
Purpose.
Seems like.
Purpose. Purpose. And so with that, the movement is very similar, or is actually the same movement as the heart. The sound is just different. So shh or shh. Breathing in. Looking at those places in ourselves where we uphold classism and thoughts and beliefs about people with different credit, or that live on a different side of town, social economic status. Where's that alive in us first, rather than pointing the finger? Where are we not setting healthy boundaries? What sadness, what grief do we have in this moment? And allowing ourselves to fully feel it, like Kirti was just saying. We don't run from these negative emotions. We're built for this moment. We're built to feel these things, but then we're also built to alchemize them.
And the pressure in which I exert my sound is the projection to which, how far I want my energy to flow. And I allow my sound to fade out with like a sensual fade out. There's no cutoffs. We don't like it when the DJ just cuts the song out. So same thing with the breath. Fade it out. Start powerful, and allow that to flow. So it's like you're pressing out who you are with purpose and grace. Allow it to fade out.
A couple more just in silence. One more. Then we just go into silence, feeling that energy now going through our rib cage, through our nipples, our breast, our chest area. Taking a moment in silence to feel that. Aho. All right, and then next, divine beings. So in racism, we went through racism with awareness, classism. We now bring ourselves to intellectualism. The element is the earth element, the spleen and pancreas. For most people, anatomically, that's going to be on the left side here. And the earth element, the soil or negative or soil emotions, is anxiety and worry and nervousness and overthinking, intellectualism, being so in our fucking heads.
And especially with the huge influx of information right now, right? It's like we have media outlets, but then we also have like internet, and you have your social media, and then wherever you have newspapers, and then you go to the store, and wherever you go, there's constant input happening of huge amounts of information. And so the mind feels this task to have to organize and place all this information, and the ego is going to want to have all its judgments about it, which can just create this need to be right. And so for me, intellectualism it's the overpowering emphasis to be right. So like, finding that post that says sharing every single post that like just that proves your point, or the things that you say, getting into conflicts on social media, right? In the comments feed, I found myself going there this last week too, because I was just so in my head and like was dealing with so much. So yeah, and also recognizing in the intellectualism piece that what we have deemed to know and judge as right, what is the root of that? Where does that knowledge come from? And it comes from a system of thought, even in the educational system, that is really racist from its upbringing. And the history of the educational system was to train a workforce, and the economy was not really about getting into the heart and really processing our emotions. So the intellectualism is like getting too much into the degrees and like being who has authority to say and to speak and to be heard, and who doesn't, and how we place that judgment on others.
Right, and that ties into the next one, which we're going to go into, is sexism, because putting so much emphasis on intelligence, we've downplayed intuition, and the feminine energy of just intuition and just knowing without knowing how you know. Well, being intellectual about it, we've got to prove how we came to that, and putting an overemphasis on that.
And also it's like, it's the and then we're basing it off a system that hasn't raised all of its members equally. So that also leads into sexism, right? Because then it's like, okay, well now we're basing smarts on this system, but certain people haven't had access to that system. So they're consistently catching up, and so they're seen as dumb.
Right. And one brother broke it down for me like this, on the streets of in Richmond, Virginia. He said that we go to school for 4 years or sometimes more to get one degree, and or sometimes we strive and we're really high achievers. We're gonna get 2 or 3 of them, right? So we got 2 or 3 degrees. He said it takes 360 degrees to make a circle. It takes 720 to make a sphere. And some people might just dismiss that, like, oh, okay, you kicking knowledge, okay. But truly, the people who code and who use this language, and the chess masters that are moving, the puppet masters that are playing with all of us, they understand this. They called it a degree for a reason, because what the brother's bringing out is exactly that. While we're fighting for 1 degree and spending so much intellectual time and overthinking and worried and nervous and doing all these tests and everything to uphold a system that is working against all of us, we're not getting the 360. We're not getting the 720 sphere.
No, we're not.
And so, and with that, the positive emotion of the spleen and the pancreas, of the earth element, is trust. It is divine trust. It is trust in our bodies and being embodied trust, and knowing that this motherfucker is real, and that you have wisdom and all these energies in you, and trusting that, and that you will have an inspired action, and that you will know what to do in a situation. You trusting that. And yesterday I went with a men's group. Shout out to Man Unleashed. We went on a trail, and sitting on the mountain and feeling the solidness of that mountain and how strong and embodied it is. And you have that same energy in you. That's your bones. Notice how the word bone has one in it. You know, feeling ourselves to that level, the solidness of ourselves. And so the sound to bring the spleen and the pancreas back into alignment is Wu, like Wu-Tang Clan, Wu, W-U. The movement is, what we do is, so you bring your hands up like this, breathing in, and then you're gonna come up, still breathing in, and then go to the right. Breathing in. Where in us is that overemphasis on intellectualism alive in us?
Where do you feel intellectually like you're not enough? And with the Wu, raise that vibration up to being whole and complete.
Where in us do we allow the intellect, the ego, to take us either to pride or doubt?
That's funny. And what I was going to say, so similar, was like, where is there the inequality of pride and doubt? Where is it not in balance? Not just how you feel of others, but in yourself. Where's your pride allowing for doubt, self-doubt?
What things right now are making us anxious, making us worried, making us nervous, making us overthink?
And with your Wu, water that with trust in your body, in your mind, and in the overall collective consciousness.
Now a couple more just in silence, allowing yourself to feel in your gut. One more round. Bringing your hands down slowly, allowing the energy follows thought, and then blood follows energy. So allowing your fingers to feel like you're going down a waterfall, feeling that in your fingertips, your arms, going down in your stomach, into your genital area, down your legs, into your feet. Solid, trustworthy. And a couple of breaths in silence. Shay. So the next element that we move into is sexism. And we had the R for racism, the A for awareness, the C for classism, the I for intellectualism. Now we're at the S, sexism. And this is the whole play, the supposed play of the feminine and masculine energies that we oftentimes confuse with male and female. But these are just energies yin and yang, that are supposed to be in a state of flow and of playfulness, and there's a lot of rigidness around them. Again, remembering that when we're out of congruence or coherence with our heart element, then it's going to put us in a place with our sexual energy. We're going to lose that playfulness. You know, we're going to start having, just like we put restrictions and limitations on our love, aka conditions on our love, we're going to put conditions on our play. We're going to put conditions on our pleasure. Many of us are not allowing ourselves to feel pleasure. So the positive emotion of the kidneys, these energies reside in the kidneys. The central, the water element, is in the kidneys. And what we're doing a lot of times is we're locking that energy up. We're making it cold and frigid, and we're asking it now to play a little bit. And we do that a lot through our beliefs, also our false beliefs about sexism, about the opposite sex.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And also it's like we allow it to become so dualistic in terms of male-female that even when we are talking about overarching systems that are responsible for this sexism, racism, intellectualism, and materialism, and classism, the patriarchy, it tends to become like it's anti-male, but really what it is it's anti the system that has created these roles for males and females to feel that they have to play into in order to be acceptable, in order to be professional, in order to be intellectual, in order to be a success. Like, so this sexism is super deep because it's really calling for the ultimate integration of our own feminine and masculine energies within ourselves so that we can be fully expressed in the bodies that we choose to express in this lifetime.
R.A.C.I.S.M. And you know, with that, for the LGBTQT community, you know, is sexism also that says what a person has to be. You know, saying that to be a man is this, and that's, each one of us have our own unique expressions, and we get to show up how we fucking want to, and no one else gets to tell us.
Most definitely.
You know, and so with that, the positive emotions of, or the soul align aware emotions of the kidneys, of that part of our being, is peace and pleasure. Peace being more like the still part of ourselves. So we're told that our kidneys have the adrenals that sit on top of them. They're part of the endocrine system that they shoot different hormones, cortisol and different things into our bloodstream. They cause the fight or flight, norepinephrine and adrenaline to go into our bodies. And they take fight or flight. And most of the time, because we're always in a fight or flight thing, we're not doing the rest and digest. So we're not cocooning. You know, we're not healing ourselves because we're in traffic going to a job that we don't like. We're fearful a lot of times. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be able to pay my rent? You know, we're in a state of constant fear and of different levels, and it's keeping us at a state of not being able to be playful and to enjoy our pleasure, or to be at a state of peace. And so with that, Kirti and us, we just did an Instagram live, and we just came up with a movement. This is new for us. Didn't get this from anyone. And that's another thing. Again, remembering that the last element was trust. Allow yourself to come up with movements and sounds that work for you, you know? But we're just kind of giving a loose structure.
And again, like, these are all ways for you to be radical, right? For you to choose something new, a new way of being, to continuously evolve and grow. This is a part of that. So like moving your body in a way that you usually don't move it is a great way to just check, where are you being robotic? Where are you being flow? Checking the pace and the tempo, right? And how you move it. If you move it up high and you could take it low, do you want to change directions? It's like just really listening to the body and how the body wants to move. And so on your inhale, really feeling where the flow is not happening, and on your exhale, adding that flow, doing the equal and opposite with the exhale.
And if you feel silly, that's kind of the point, is to do a new movement, to do something different, and to be more playful and be like water. Like Bruce Lee said, my friend, take on the shape of to be more playful and to not be so rigid. Be like water, be able to take on the container and play with things. Someone says something racist, someone says something that's classist or whatever, to be able to be more playful and move around with it and then respond accordingly. Sometimes water does move hard and it's a fucking tsunami.
Yes,
So maybe
it can shape Earth. It shapes the Earth.
Exactly. So knowing that you have that, you can be a small drop of rain if you need to, or you can bring down a goddamn tidal wave if you need to. But knowing that you have both in you and you will move accordingly. And the sound for the kidneys is you. Why you? You. So start to incorporate that in there. These last ones in silence. Last one. Now allowing yourself just to feel the flow that you've created in your body, how you've awakened the water element, the arteries and the capillaries, the veins, how the blood is flowing, allowing ourselves in silence to feel that. All right, and the last element that we're going to go over for today, so we're at the M. The M is for materialism. And just as we can't put the mental, the M-E-N, mental, the masculine energy over this way of being or over our being, we can't put the material world over spiritual. There has to be a balance. We are here in this physical to be physical beings, no doubt, but we are still spiritual beings at the same time. And so we can't be over material either. And looking to always get something new and having a consumer mindset. Consume, consume, consume. And we know that we're in that when we're not bringing all the elements online, because then there's not a place of, as one sister that I interviewed, Melin's Bart Williams, shout out to her, she says, when we start to bring this energy fully online, instead of it being charity, it's charity. And we start to share. We start to share, just like this tree, you know. So the last element, we had the fire element for the heart, we had the air element for the lungs, we had the earth element for the spleen and pancreas, and we had the water element for the kidneys. The last element that brings it all together is our beautiful trees. The tree of life, L-I-F-E, living in full expression.
And for me, what's coming through on that is materialism. Once we are able to be aware of the racism and the intellectualism and the sexism and the classism, then in terms of materialism, we can truly understand what abundance means. And the tree that grew from the seed, the original abundance of the earth, which all things come from, we can start to now see each of us as unique expressions of abundance. And instead of judging people for the amount of money they make or the material objects they acquire, we can actually see people for what abundance code they uniquely carry. If somebody brings finance to the game, somebody brings energy healing to the game, somebody might bring creativity to the game. Different people bring different abundance codes to the game. So materialism helps us also see, like, where are we in balance with our appreciation of all things in life that nature provides for us naturally.
Amen. Amen. And when we have too much emphasis on materialism, we cut down all the trees. We cut down all the trees in life. We cut down our relationships. We cut down
the ripple effects.
The ripple effects. We may put overemphasis on getting things, but our relationships are going to shit, or our health is going to shit. You know, that's because we're putting too much emphasis on getting things, consumerism. You know, and so we're cutting down the trees in our life. So the soul or negative soul emotion of this element, the liver elements, the liver organ rather, is anger and frustration and sexual frustration. And the positive emotion, the soul aligned aware emotion, is forgiveness. Is forgiveness. And so as we do this movement and sound closing out, just as a tree takes the Ra, it takes the sun, and it takes the oxygen in from us, and then gives us, the carbon dioxide, and gives us back oxygen, and then so it takes the air element, and it takes the soil, and it takes the water, and it creates this beautiful tree with fruits and blossoms and leaves. We bring this to life, living in full expression by bringing all of the elements, the tree of life that is in us, alive. And so with this, we forgive ourselves for those places where we haven't been doing that. And we now forgive and come into harmony again, back into a place of homeostasis, back into a place of balance.
I love that. And it's like all of the organs, it feels like the liver is almost just like this driver for a lot of sex happening within the organs within our bodies. And from their different roles, they're able to make us function and be fully expressed. And to be in the full expression, not only do we have to offer forgiveness to ourselves, but then at the same time, we have to offer gratitude for the soil emotions and for this misalignment of our organs to show themselves, so that we can work with our mind and heart and body to like build the unity, build the beautiful dance, so that they can make love and provide fruits and keep going.
Amen. Amen. And so with that, the sound for the lungs is shu, like a shoe, spelled S-H-U. And for those female gendered, or those who identify more in this moment with the feminine energy. So even if you're a man and you want to work on your feminine energy, you take your left hand and you put it over your navel, and then your right hand over that. For the masculine, those who want to work on the masculine energy, or male gendered beings, it'd be the opposite. Right hand first over the navel, and then left hand over that. And the sound is shu, slight bend in the knees. Again, as always, the stance is a slight bend in the knee, and the sound is shu. Shu.
Shu. I allow myself to feel all the shame and guilt that I'm carrying for not being enough. And I actually allow that to expose how much I truly, truly desire to love myself and desire to be loved.
And I see how I bring myself into harmony with the material world, with flowering and blossoming, with fruits, and allowing myself to enjoy those things without overindulging either. Allowing myself to be more like a tree that just shares, not asking us to give it anything. It just shares. And in not asking, it naturally still is taken care of because we spit the seed out and another tree grows. A couple more in silence. Taking some breaths, just being silent, allowing ourselves to feel our roots and our branches at the same time. Balance, heaven and earth, not one over the other. And as we close this out, we have a special way of closing this out for this racism edition of Qigong or breathwork or breath discipline. Let me see, move the video back here so we can see us. So the best you can see us, you won't be able to maybe, let me see if I can put it down a little bit. Yeah. Just a little bit. And what we're going to do to close out this R.A.C.I.S.M, this racism, we're going to take a knee on the left and come down. So taking a knee, it's been very controversial, right? Taking a knee, putting our right hand over our heart and our left hand down onto Mother Heart. I like to take if you say earth and you take the H and you put it at the front, you have the word heart. And so in allowing ourselves to feel our heart be in coherence and in resonance with her. So taking a moment just to feel your heart and Mother Heart at the same time. Heart to heart conversation right now. Heart to heart feeling. Up slowly, one heart, one beat, one breath, and taking our right hand and grasping it as high as we can for the highest ideal, for the highest version of ourselves, for the best version of ourselves, for the best version of society. And then you take your fingers, all 5 elements, and you close them. You close them, making a fist. This has been associated with black power, but now this is for all human beings. Grasping for the highest ideal. For all, taking back our power, closing our hand, remembering who we are, divine beings. We call on that essence now. Amen. Aho. Ashe.
Ashe.
With that, y'all, we're closing out. That is Qigong. That is how we can end racism with breath work, with discipline, with bringing awareness and alignment into our being. And again, I'm Shofar from Faux Show Energy Work.
I'm Kirti from Dilse Culture.
And tell them, Kirti, in closing out, what you got going on.
Anything that you want to see about what's going on with me, Instagram is a great place to check me out. Dilse.kirtidance, DILSE.KIRTIDANCE. And you can also check out my website. Everything is linked there. Here to serve the collective and looking forward to connect with you.
Amen. And again, Shofar, Faux Show Energy Work. I do coaching for couples and singles. I do energy work for couples and singles with this beautiful woman here. And I have a book, Soul Sacred Orgasmic Living.
Yes.
You can get an excerpt of that, a free excerpt on my website. You can also buy the book on my website. I also do, we have a series of workshops that we do together with 2 other amazing, powerful beings called Hip Hop Kundalini. We also do a series for couples and singles called Intimate Relating. And if you can also follow me on Instagram. And if you want more exclusive content, taking it, because this is a basic, the exercises that we did today around racism, that's a basic, over an understanding. But we go deeper into that on my Patreon, and you can get more exclusive content and materials there. And again, y'all, I invite y'all to keep SEX, sensual emotional exchange, in your life, and then also keep SEX in your life. Keep shining, keep evolving, and do that exponentially. Peace.
Peace.